Hello, welcome to Tarot for our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go, and today we're dealing with it's this ongoing discussion, and it was brought up on one of the many newscasts I saw and commentaries I saw on YouTube today, and it's pretty much about saying that Trump isn't the problem. Well, I think he probably is, but it's what he represents, the shadow of the U.S. And of course, what better card for that than one of our yearly cards, the moon. And on the thumbnail, I do have Carl Jung, who was very big psychologist a little bit after Freud, who was very big on embracing the shadow side of ourselves, to shine the light on it. And this is interesting because you've got the moon, which is female energy, and the sun, which is the male energy. And so the female moon needs the sun to light her up, and the sun needs the masculine energy, needs the moon as the surface to reflect. So the thing about this war that we are in, which is a lot of us are calling it the Epstein war, is, of course, it's about, and I've said it, and so has everybody else and their mother said it, that it's pretty much about the diversion away from Epstein. So it's being called the Epstein War. And it's the old trick of trying to have us avoid the shadow, our shadow selves, or to kind of push it aside. And it doesn't work. I believe in other periods of times when presidents have done this, have started wars, and it seems particularly prevalent since World War II, because we haven't really had any conflict from Korea to Afghanistan where we've actually won. It's kind of like, well, we make a deal, make a truce, and we're out of there, and not anybody is happy, and it hasn't proved to. It's like we never ever learn. So I believe that this is something that is really up front and center for us to have to deal with. But it also is all about this raising consciousness, the shift, whatever this is going through. I often think that maybe this is the universe's way of saying, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to give you conditions that are forcing you to do it. And maybe this is what this whole regime is all about, because this didn't start with Trump. I mean, before our nation was even founded, the economy, the southern agriculture economy, was run on slavery. Women couldn't vote. I mean, and after these matters were supposedly settled, we had Jim Crow, lynchings, all kinds of ugly stuff. And I know that we're freer than a lot of countries, but still, it really comes down to we haven't quite faced the shadow. We've pretty much tried to sweep it under the rug. So now it's it's kind of like the chickens are coming home to roost. So we have the moon card. It's all about the subconscious, and Jung was pretty big on bringing it up to the future. And I will give you that quote of his that I have on the thumbnail here. Let's see. Okay. So, oops. Okay, I'll give you the quote. Okay. Your shadow is not an enemy, but a teacher of wisdom. So it's about shining the light on the shadow. That trying to ignore it isn't going to make it go away. I think one of the, and I've touched on this before. One of the things about the Epstein stuff, and I've seen people on social media talking about this, is that it's brought up their own issues of having, whoops, wowee, sorry about that, of having their own abuse issues as children, sadly, from family members or trusted clergy, that sort of thing. So now they're having to face that. It's kind of an ugly way that they have to do it, unfortunately. But that's what's going on. I also believe that maybe that's bringing out some of the darker parts of our soul, so to speak. So I do want to take a look and see what the secondary card is with this. I'll give this a shuffle. And then I want to look at this, then do the reading about how we're pretty much evolving with this whole thing. So let's see, what do we have here? Okay, I'll pick a, oh, this one's kind of sticking out. So then we have to go with the moon. Oh, we have the Queen of Cups. And this is interesting because this is the month of the woman. We are now March. This is the month. This is the Women's History Month, and we'll have the big International Women's Day. So we have the Queen of Cups, and she's the nurturing mother of the tarot. But in this, looking at in this context, there's a lot of, she looks at the cup, which all represents intuition, feelings, emotion, spirituality. But I'm seeing her sitting and really looking, becoming introspective and saying, I've done all I can for my children, my family, and now I need to look at all the stuff that I have been neglecting. But I also see this as that women are the main, they're the engine that's pretty much driving this resistance movement right now. And I believe that a lot, I'm not one of these psychics that sees doing your own introspective work and being an activist as totally separate entities. So it's kind of like getting your own house in order as you deal with the rest of the world. So I am not one of those, don't get me started, one of those navel-gazing, psychics that doesn't want to have anything to do with politics. I'm staying in my own lane, blah, blah, blah. But what the Queen of Cups is saying that in order to do a better job of that, realize what are your issues, and could be a dark Epstein kind of a thing, or it could be that family is just taking advantage of you your entire life. It could be a number of things in an order, and a lot of this is from societal things that has chosen not to address these things. So to me, it's all intertwined. So what I want to do is I want to do a reading on, and the thing is, they can start wars all over the place, but the Epstein ghost looms large. This is such a huge, huge issue. It's just not going to go away. What worked in the past with that stuff it's just not going to happen today. So let's take a look at this. And I'm doing this without notes and kind of going as I go, because the last time I did this, I've gotten more views than ever. So I guess just, let's see. Okay, keep our fingers crossed that this stupid thing, here we go. I knew it. Okay. Okay, well, I'll keep it like here. Okay. Oh, God, I just hate this. Okay. Maybe I need to put it up a little bit. Yeah, okay, let's hope that it obviously haven't made it to Best Buy for the Geek Squad yet. Okay, so what we have as the base card here is the Seven of Cups in reverse. This is like, this, wow, I can't even believe you would have thought I would deliberately pulled it out of the deck. This whole war has been a big smoke screen to cover up this so that maybe they won't dig further into the Epstein cover up. But this is in reverse. It means the smoke screen is gone. That doesn't work anymore. And then all of this stuff is spilling out, all of these very strong emotions, which is saying this just is not going anywhere. So in a little bit of the lead up to this in the before tarot, we have, okay, ready? This is boarding the boat of the Six of Swords to go into the new land and the smoother waters, and it looks like this, none of this is taking unless we if we keep avoiding looking at the dark side, we're just not going to be getting aboard that boat and going anywhere. And we're not going to be clear thinking like those swords indicate. So this is pretty much about, again, with the Queen of Cups, getting our houses in order before taking the voyage. It's like we're getting ready, but we're not quite ready yet. So immediately after this, we have the Knight of Pentacles, and yes, in this card, he is upright. He's coming in at the end of the day, after the day of making money, but it hasn't worked out quite the way that he had hoped it would. And usually in reverse, I see him as the mercenary. So this whole thing with the soldiers and the toxic masculinity and all this stuff just hasn't worked out in the way that they thought it would. And in fact, bringing back the draft would be a very, very, complicated and lengthy thing. I'm going to say if this thing drags out, what I'm seeing here is that, and people aren't enlisting, that they could be bringing in some mercenaries, but that wouldn't work out too well. So the energy behind this is the Seven of Pentacles. They can no longer pick the poison fruit from the poison tree, and it's time to walk away. Usually upright, she's just turning her back on that for a moment, but I'm seeing her walking away from this. So this is not turning out the way they hired it to turn out. And this comes back to me. This is all about the illusions they're trying to, that are not they're just not working. They're not working. So let's see what's going on with us underneath all of this sort of thing. So we have here the Lying King. I wonder who that could be. Yep, that's the... Yeah, kings in reverse are the negative qualities of Taco Boy. So the lie, and the lies that he's told in the past that he thinks are going to work. It's interesting because, and this is for entertainment purposes only. The thing is, I was talking to a friend who was saying, who has some background in psychology, who was saying that he could take a lie detector test and pass it because he actually believes all of this crap now. And that's one of the signs of dementia. So it's the big lie and him believing the lie. Oh, temperance in reverse. It's not only throwing us off balance, but I would say this is your life, Pete Hegseth, because this is the can't stay sober card. When this is in reverse, this is the can't stay sober card. So we've got a drunk leading our forces, and he's got the thing that the secretary, and I can't call him the Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, he's got the lives of so many in his hands. He's off balance. He's a drunk, toxic masculinity, little mushroom complex, all of that stuff. And people will die from it. This is a truth that we have to see, that these deaths are needless. They're absolutely needless because we've got a drunken idiot. Then all these reverse cards. I'm going to say this is more MAGAs peeling off. They're not in love. There's a whole bunch of videos. You could watch those videos all day. That this was the thing that has turned, thrown a lot of red hats into the trash. That's for sure. So, in opposition of this, we have, no matter what they do, a lot of these things, this is what I'm saying. Oh, there's so much information breaking about the Epstein case that is not going to stop. So that's opposition of this. Then on the conscious level, we have the Queen. Interesting. We had her up here upright somewhere in here. Yes. Oh, no, that was the second card. Okay. We have the Queen of Cups in reverse. This is the manipulative female energy. This is passive aggressive, the kind that guilt trips the hell out of her kids. Very needy. She's got issues. Sometimes she could be an alcoholic or substance abuser. So on the conscious level, I think that this is what people are starting to really realize, that this is the conscious awakening of realizing the toxicity of this, because all these big macho men types are trying to, thump their chests and say, oh, what a big boy I am. But in reality, they're just going into this very negative female, I'm always the victim stuff, that whole thing. That's on the conscious level, the people becoming aware of this. So subconsciously, the world waiting to go into a new cycle. I think the majority of Americans are so tired of this and they're ready to move on the inner life part of this and this is what it's like, we need to move on. I don't know how much more we can take. Usually that's interesting because one would think that these would be reversed. So there may be a little bit, I think I want to throw a little clarifier on top of this because this is interesting. This wanting to move on or finish the cycle is the subconscious. And to clarify this is all the heartbreak and this is the healing that people so long for. But I would say that in the daily life of drama, where you could go shopping in another country could burn down, as literally, yeah, we're so caught up in the drama that this whole thing of wanting to end the cycle and to heal is pretty much shoved down under. And then it's also for many surviving too. So let's see. In the past, with all of this before this began, is very interesting. The Five of Pentacles. And this is kind of like this is the being left out in the cold. I don't know if Kanks is quite aware. Well, he's delusional. He thinks that every head of the EU and the British Isles just love him. But I think those more lucid sycophants of him are seeing that we are being left out in the cold by the rest of Europe. And with that and Epstein, yeah, why don't we just go start a war? Because figuring they're going to just jump on board with us when they're not. The only thing I've heard that the rest of these countries are going to do is maybe provide protection because their bases are in peril, but they're not going to let U.S. planes land to take off for their missions or give them any support. It's only, I think, maybe on the barest of defense if it affects them, kind of a thing. Okay, that's in the past. And then leading up to the present, we have the page of, this is interesting, the Page of Pentacles as he gets ready to start his day. And it's interesting. He's caught up between the material world and the spiritual world, which is represented by the sunflowers. And in making his new beginning, he's wondering, can I reconcile both of them? So I think we have been going through this on a kind of a deep level too here in the past. Now, in the present, we have the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands, I would say, this is looking to, this goes on two levels. This is looking for a new beginning for the younger ones to be more inspiring. And this goes to the people like AOC and my representative Summer Lee, and kind of like the younger spiritual leader Bernie Sanders, who the younger folks have really gravitated towards. So I think the whole thing is that right now in the primaries, with everybody sick of God only, what is he going to do next? I think the primaries are showing that they're going for something new. They want something, everybody wants something new to inspire them, which would definitely come in conflict with this, because the young progressives, they're really not on board with this, and they really want to dig deep into the Epstein. And I also think that this is kind of an awakening, perhaps with people going back to their own, they were getting very Jungian again, going back to their own childhood traumas and having the light shown on that. I'm sure that their therapists are going to start to be very, very busy. So this is bringing out a lot of stuff. This war, this is not fooling anybody. So coming up in the future, as this goes along, is, okay. The kids have had this is in reverse. The kids have had their day out playing. They're going inside. But I would say, okay, I know what this represents. This represents, because it's in reverse, those little girls in that school in Iran running inside to get some shelter from the bombs. So you can see with these cups, the children are no longer there. So that is a major, that's a very major thing. And this further fuels the changing of the structure, because, as I said in the last reading, it brings up the sad point that They're trying to divert attention from harming children only to do it with bombs and this sort of thing. And I did see that press that presser with that little blonde bimbo saying that the U.S. never, because they were asked if, the U.S. had targeted that school or why was that school in the oh, we never target that. But they showed a map saying, boy, there it was, right in the middle of their targets of the, whatever they were going after. So this does show they don't give a shit about children or the Iranians. This was the diversion. And this does go back to the past, thinking, well, it worked in the past. But no, it is not working anymore. So what is this telling us? This is saying that, maybe you can try to run and hide from these more personal issues, but they're not going to go away. That's the whole thing. The whole point of this war, this reading is that they can do all of this stuff, but it is not going to detract from the psyche, the shadow of the U.S. This is just so out there up front. So in the hopes and the fears, we have, interesting, the Nine of Swords in reverse is saying that maybe it's time for us not to worry and let this stuff keep us up at night. And this is saying that if you do whatever little things you do to improve things, that will make you just sleep better. And that to get out of that whole thing of fear, because that's what the enemy at the top of the government wants us to do, is to live in fear. So this is also about the hopes that we can do some self-care so that we don't have to be worrying and kept up at night. We still are going to be, but to a lesser degree, because you're playing right into their game. So then we have how we see ourselves. Well, just fighting. This is the whole thing about the whole Trump regime stuff, is that for the past 10 and going on 11 years now, is it has divided the nation and that we're squabbling with each other. But we also see this with the MAGA people fighting amongst each other, is it makes them weaker. So we're seeing ourselves as divided, but also seeing that quite aware that we have an opportunity that we could go into divide and conquer mode, which would be very good. Then we have here, we have how the rest of the world sees us, as that I'm looking at the Eight of Pentacles. And this whole thing is that sometimes we have our nose to the grindstone so much that we don't, it's almost seeing the forest for the trees kind of a thing, that we really do need to look at the rest of the picture to know what we can accomplish. So this isn't quite a negative thing. This is also telling me on an intuitive level that the majority of us are not MAGA, just like we see that the majority of the people in Iran are not on board with the Ayatollah. The whole thing is that that stuff has not. We've done that, and with Gaddafi and Hussein, it hasn't worked. So why are we doing this again? So I want to go to the little bit of a conclusion reading with all of this about doing our shadow work, because we are living in the big shadow. All that patriotic BS diversion stuff, it isn't working anymore. And the big hypocritical thing is that they can shed, all these, the head of MAGA and everything, they can shed their crocodile tears and the platitudes about the service people that were killed, but nobody showed up when their bodies were returned, with those flag draped coffins were came home. Not one of them showed up for that. That's something else I caught on the YouTube news feed today. So it's just hypocrisy through and through. They don't care. They really don't care. Oh, well, some people have to die, so nobody knows that I'm a child diddler. Really, come on. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Now, in the end, this has turned up. We got the Eight of Cups in reverse, and this is walking away. Also, this has happened in the energy of a big eclipse that we had yesterday, or maybe it will be the day before if I put this out for the 5th. And it's walking away, and it's always in reverse. It's going towards family, or whether there are blood families, or the families that we have found through friendships and that sort of thing. And but this is very, very important, because this is very emotional. So it's going to be with the people that really matter, but also to be with those that are working to put an end to all of this. So let's see, what do we have with the energy? What this tells me is that as people are walking away, from the toxic stuff that's going on now, there is the realization. I'm looking at this. The first thing that hit me with this Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles in reverse, is not only about money, it's about health. And for entertainment purposes only, they're seeing the major health decline of Trump, and that he's not alone in all of this, but he is the main attention. So that's seeing that he's in a very big position of weakness. So you take that back to your group of people and realize that this is what we're dealing with. So let's see. We'll pull some cards here. We have the healing can begin. It's time to, as we do the shadow work, the healing can begin, and all the hurts from the betrayal the gravity pulls the swords out. So there's the healing aspect. Oh, good. I was hoping this would turn up. Okay, so in that way we can start to go into smoother waters. I think this is becoming aware of what's in our power to do and what is not in our power to do. And with the primaries coming up, I keep saying it's very important to vote, because not only can you get rid of the corporate Dems who are really pulling us down, but before that, and I don't think they're going to be able to get too draconian with the with the registration. But the thing is, if you go waltzing into the polls with your registration and vote, you're automatically registered for the November election. So if for no other reason, even if you live in districts where it doesn't matter, the people are running unopposed, still go and vote, because that establishes your registration. So that's a way you go into smoother waters. These are the things you can do. The Hierophant is all about doing things the way of the institutional thing is not working very well. So I'm not only seeing there's a big one at the end of this month on the 28th, another No Kings. I'm also seeing this as kind of doing stuff harmless stuff and not dangerous stuff, like doing street political theater like did in the 60s and 70s. So there will be some unconventional stuff like that going on, which brings attention. The Hanged Man in reverse is like, okay, you've had enough time to reflect. Now it's time to get off that tree and get into action. Yeah, because there's going to be the anti-war. Apparently, there was a big anti-war protest in New York today. I saw that. Okay. Moving forward. Things are going to start moving forward very, very quickly. But this is a cautionary note to keep your head, because this guy can get a little hot-headed. So this is because they're going to have their goons out there trying to provoke. So it's like temper, temper. Then we have... You know what, instead of seeing, I don't see this as the resistance or the citizenry. I'm seeing this as MAGA and Trump with his illnesses. Now, he has been coming back and been dodging all the legal stuff and everything. What this is saying is that he doesn't have much of that left, because when this fellow is upright, he's pretty much about like, okay, I'm wounded, but I'll patch myself up, take a deep breath, and I'll fight another day. In reverse, it's saying that's kind of running out. That really, and this goes to this very, very bad health. And it's like the doctors are keeping him together with God only knows what. It's like this is the whole weakening of... He doesn't have many come back and fight another day. And the thing is that even though people, and I understand that, of course, he's far from alone in this, but he's the main figurehead. He is, if you want to call him that, the big leader, even if he's just going to be drooling and, blinking once for yes and twice. As long as he's breathing, he is the symbol, but this is but the currency is really running low on this, which kind of this goes along with the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. I think people need to see this. I mean, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We have no choice. If I'm not going to tell you to not, feel bad about thinking this way, but at any rate, and then we have the continuous trying to keep our own equilibrium in this. So this once again comes down to keeping our equilibrium, and a lot of it has to do. A lot of people are having some very tough times financially and everything. So I would say, if you need to ask for help, ask for help. Then in the end, they're not getting away with it. The days are numbered. The days are definitely numbered. I don't think I need any more. Let's see if I can raise this without it going out again. Okay. So the days are pretty much numbered, and I think what this whole thing is all about is really there are big changes coming. This war is not taking the path of the moon. Still, it's not going to throw any roadblocks. It's and in fact, in the moon card, which I put away, but I have it here. Okay, in the moon card, you can see that, and this appears a lot in the tarot. There's the Kabbalah of the letter Yud, which I've talked about before, the smallest yet the most powerful letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and the spiritual meaning of it is it sets the other characters in motion, not linguistically and spiritually. And it's like energy. Once it's set in motion, There is there's no stopping it. There's no stopping it. And in fact, it takes on a life of its own. So this moon card is very important because right now there's the fight between the feral and the tame elements of ourselves. It looks like the feral is taking over in MAGA land with Pete and gang. And that the important thing is that we do not buy into the feral. What's going to happen is that they're going to become their own worst enemies. And the fact that they think they can get away with it does show that there is a very that this is not, it's not sustainable. So I would say this is part of the big change, and I would say to be compassionate to that, because people are really going to be going through this stuff with the Epstein. There are people that have suppressed memories that's going to come back. So the whole thing is reaching out, being kind, being compassionate, because this will bring up a lot of stuff with a lot of people. And also to know that it's the balance between doing yourself, your meditation and your own spiritual work, but also we are coming into the age of Aquarius, which means that we need to do it pretty much individually and collectively. And perhaps the big shift is finding that it's going to be a lot easier than we think. So I am sure I am far from done talking about war versus Epstein. But the last video I did, which I had the death card as the focal point, because this is the death march towards the end of possibly the end of a regime. It also for entertainment purposes only, since it has come up, not today though, it's interesting. It has come up so much in my readings and other people's readings, which is saying that maybe the lying leader doesn't have much time left on this earth. And I say that it's purely speculative. And I will add, like I have said many times, if you sit down with me or any Linda G or any Whimsy or any of those other people that do this kind of work, this is nothing we will ever tell you in our personal readings, but this is for current events, so that's a different thing. So I have to reiterate the fact that there is no way that I would ever say anything like that if you were to sit down with me in a reading. But when we talk about public figures, that's a different ball game altogether. So with that, I will see you soon. So have a pleasant evening, and bye-bye for now.